Welcome back. Jury selection is underway in a Georgia case involving a man accused of leaving his 22-month-old son in a hot car. The boy later died. Prosecutors say the accused, Justin Harris, a married 35-year-old, was sexting with a woman not his wife from his job at a Home Depot as his son was slowly dying in his car seat. Because of the intense publicity the case has received, seating an impartial jury is going to be a challenge. Legal analyst Andrew Ferguson joins us now. He teaches at the Clark School of Law at UDC, and he's the author of Why Jury Duty Matters. Welcome back. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
An intense case, a difficult case with intense publicity, and they have called in this case a staggering number of potential jurors for a process they think could last a long time.
About 550 jurors were summoned for jury selection that may last several weeks. This is going to be, there's a sense it could be like the next Casey Anthony case, like one of these big international high-button media circus cases involving murder, sex, technology, and tragedy.
A case that most of us are seated on or put in the pool. It's a few hours, and it might be 50 people, right, or 75. A much smaller number than the number you outlined, right? You said 550 potential jurors have been called, and they think that the process could go 2 weeks just to get to the first day of actual trial. That really underscores the extraordinary challenge they perceive to be at stake here.
So this is a case that in Cobb County, Georgia, has gotten tremendous amount of attention. In fact, it's international attention, but certainly in Georgia, where people found out about this case, it became a cause célèbre. And so many people know about this case, and what they're trying to find is people who are not already presupposed to think he's guilty or think he's innocent or have a stake in it. They're trying to find impartial jurors, and that's hard with these media-saturated cases.
So some people will think it means finding people who don't know about the case. People, 12 people who, in addition to all the other criteria, or maybe more if you need 6 alternates, 12, 18, I don't know the system in Georgia, but let's just say 12. You need 12 people essentially who've been living under a rock?
So it's not so much that people have never heard of it, but what the judge will do is say, have you come to determinations? Are there facts you've read about in the news or seen on TV that would sway your ability to be impartial and fair? Because the facts haven't come out yet, right? They're just going to come out through this testimony. But these types of cases are unusual because people have been getting daily announcements. You can read a timeline in the local newspaper. You can see media stories every single day when there's some new indictment or there was just a recent indictment. They added charges just 2 weeks ago, a new story about it. So it's become something that, it's not that you had to be living under a rock, but you probably weren't paying attention if you hadn't heard about this case and had some information about this case.
In the old days, was it, like, before information was so pervasive, were they trying to find people who knew nothing, and now because of the inevitable flow of information the court system has had to accept that we walk in oftentimes having seen at least a headline, or we've caught a glimpse, so the court system is in essence made peace with this new reality?
Well, I'm not sure how much has really changed. I mean, when you had the O.J. trial, right, people knew who O.J. Simpson was. They knew about this case. It was all over the television news and the paper news. We didn't have social media. We didn't have Twitter and Facebook at that moment. People knew about it, and they were trying to find people who hadn't come to a judgment about this case before the evidence came in. So the difficulty now is we just have more sources of information. Like, people are going to be tweeting about it, even who have no news coverage, no information, but they have opinions, and they're going to be sharing those opinions with their friends and family. It's going to be all over Facebook, all over all the social media sites that people or the potential jurors are there. And it's going to be very hard to disentangle that information from their role as juror, which is to be impartial.
The defense in this case will maintain, we believe, that this was all a horrible, horrible mistake, and even the attorney presumably will say, even a mistake that has life and death consequences need not every time be a criminal act.
I mean, it's true. I mean, having researched a little bit, apparently the average is about 37 child car deaths like this happen every year in America. So this actually happens. It's horrible, tragic that some child would be forgotten in a car and die because of the heat in it. And so I assume that the defense will say that this is a case like those tragic accidents where someone forgot. Now, they have an uphill battle because there are some bad facts, not simply that this gentleman went to work and was sexting with underage girls, which of course makes you not seem like an upstanding person. They also found out he was unhappy in his marriage. He was actually researching about child-free lifestyles and had even been researching, this is again part of the allegation, that we haven't seen the evidence yet, but even researching about child car deaths before the child car death. So all that sounds awfully suspicious. All that sounds rather difficult. We'll see what the facts actually show. But this will be a case where the ordinary course of these tragedies may have a more sinister underlying reality.
For quite a long time in our history, the change of venue was a real option that the courts could take advantage of. Something was hot in a given area, and so let's move it to the next town, the next county, and find people who are a bit more of a blank slate. With information so pervasive now, is that less a feature of our system?
It's much harder to do, right? So you even take, the cases, the police killings in Baltimore. If you want to move it out of Baltimore County, which was a recent case, into another part of Maryland, everyone in Maryland knew about what was going on there. It's very hard to move it out of that area. Here, again, people in Georgia understand, have been given this information. People in all over America and all over the world have been given this information. So I think change of venue is still an option. I mean, I think it's a little late for this case, but for other cases. But in our media-saturated world, it's much harder because we all know what's happening all the time thanks to social media and different forms of information that come to us all the time, usually in our hands or our pockets or our computers.
I was called to jury duty recently, didn't get into a pool, so needless to say, didn't get onto a jury panel. But being back in the courthouse and seeing the video, and by the way, in the District of Columbia, people who are called for jury duty see a video that you are I think you wrote and you are the person.
I did not write it, but I am the face of jury duty. For 23 minutes, citizens of D.C. get to see me explain the value of jury duty and why it matters.
And so needless to say, it's in your mind as you sit there, whether you end up being part of it or, as in my case, not. And I thought, wow, if I were to get on a case, it would be so tempting to Google the accused, if it's, some cases are civil, but in a criminal matter, I could Google the accused, I could Google the judge, I could Google the case, and yet that is the last thing that anyone involved in the case, the judge or the parties, want, right? You are not supposed to do your own information gathering.
Right, and the judge will instruct you not to. Will say you cannot Google, will say you cannot be tweeting about this case, even if you're a media celebrity, that you cannot be involved, engaging and revealing facts there, and you shouldn't be finding out information that hasn't come to you through the court process. All of those are restrictions that you would be instructed to not do.
Andrew Ferguson, stand by for just a moment. We want